Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the Monday Night Football showdown slate on Draftkings. We do have a playoff game between the Rams and the Cardinals this Monday night. We have the wild card round wrapping up on Monday night with the Rams-Cardinals game. And as always, guys, we're going to talk through this showdown slate. We're going to break everything down. Draftkings, they are putting out big contests for this Monday night game, as you would expect. They ran, big contests for basically, the playoffs, for the Saturday games, for the Sunday games, and they're putting out a Millionaire Maker for this Monday night game. So we're going to talk through the showdown slate. We're going to break everything down, go top to bottom, talk about all the playable options, all the guys that I do have interest in. Just before we do get started, guys, please hit the like button down below. As always, I do appreciate the likes. If you're new to the channel here, make sure you click that subscribe button as well. I want to get back into uploading NFL content again on this channel. I know I kind of stepped away from the NFL content for the last few weeks, but now that the playoffs are here, we have smaller slates, so it's easier to make content for these smaller slates. I'm going to be making videos for basically all the slates up until the Super Bowl. So we have like the divisional round next weekend. I think we have 2 games Saturday and then 2 games on Sunday. I'll have a video up for both the Saturday and Sunday slate next week. Then we'll have the conference championships, and then we'll have the Super Bowl. And I'm going to be making NFL content basically the rest of the season. Going to still be putting up NBA content as well. NBA is a sport that I know you guys a lot of you guys watch this channel for the NBA content. But I want to get back into uploading NFL too. So yeah, hit that subscribe button if you have not yet. Be sure to click that notification bell as well, so that way you get notified every time I upload. And another thing, if you guys are new here and you have not checked out Prospects yet, Prospects is the sponsor of this video. If you want to go sign up over there, make sure to use code NOAH when you do, and Prospects will match your first deposit. They will give you a free bet up to $100 when you do sign up with my code. You can take a look at what Prospects has to offer. It is a very simple site to use. They're basically a player prop based site, so you're picking the over or the under on players' projections. As you can see, they have a ton of projections posted for Monday night's game. They have receiving yards, they have passing yards, rushing yards. You can even do fantasy point projections. You can take over or under on those. They have touchdowns, so if you think a guy scores a touchdown or not, you can bet over or under on their touchdown projection. Very simple to use. You can you have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 5 picks, and you can win up to 10 extra money over on Prospects. So go sign up over there, guys. If you have not yet, use code NOAH, so that way you do get that deposit bonus when you sign up. But let's take a look at Monday night's showdown slate. We're going to start off at the top of the player pool. Cooper Kupp is our most expensive option on this slate, as you would expect. I think at this point, you guys know that Cooper Kupp is just a stud. He's been the wide receiver 1 in fantasy this year. He's averaged the most fantasy points per game out of any wide receiver in the league. He's breaking records this year. He's expensive. That's the one negative about Cooper Kupp, is that it's kind of expensive to get, or he's going to be tough to fit him in with how expensive he is, especially if you want to play him in the captain spot. Like if you play Cooper Kupp at captain, that leaves you only 6,100 left per player for your last 5 spots. So that's the only negative with Cooper Kupp. But man, the dude just has so much upside. He's going to get so much volume. These teams have already played, I think, twice this year. Cooper Kupp, 13 catches, 123 yards and a touchdown back in Week 14 against Arizona, 34 DK points. And then back in Week 4 against Arizona, 5 catches on 13 targets, 64 yards, 11 DK points. So you had one really big game against them, one mediocre game. It doesn't matter. Cooper Kupp's a stud. He's a top play for me on this slate. It's just a matter of if you can fit him in or not. I think if I was playing one lineup, it would be really hard to get away from Cooper Kupp, in my opinion. He's a very, very strong play. Obviously, you guys know that. Now, the quarterbacks, I think, are very solid as well. Kyler Murray, I do like quite a bit. He's a guy that I've rostered a lot in DFS, just on the main slates. On a showdown slate, obviously, Kyler Murray is going to stand out as a very strong play. We know Kyler Murray has a lot of rushing upside. He's one of these quarterbacks that can do it through the ground. Doesn't have to go out there and throw for 400 yards to really put up a big game, because he can run for 60, 70, 80 yards. He can get you multiple rushing touchdowns. At 11-2, Kyler Murray's expensive too, but like on this showdown slate, you want to try and fit in these top tier guys, because they offer you the biggest floors, or the highest floors, and the biggest ceilings as well. I think both quarterbacks would probably be staples in my lineups on this slate. Normally, you're going to want to play one of the 2 quarterbacks. It's really unlikely that you don't see either quarterback in the winning lineup when it's all said and done. Quarterbacks just have such a high floor that they're usually always going to project really well, and they're usually, for the most part, going to always make the winning lineup. Now, if I have to choose one of the 2 quarterbacks in this game, I do prefer the rushing upside of Kyler. I think Kyler has a bigger ceiling than Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, solid play here as well. This game does have somewhat of a high total. I think the total in this game is like 49.5. So we're kind of expecting a lot of points to be scored here. I could definitely see this game winding up being a shootout. I think both these quarterbacks are very strong options. If I had to lean one or the other, I probably would take Kyler over Stafford. But I think it kind of comes down to roster construction. Normally when I'm playing a receiver at captain, I try and pair the receiver with the quarterback. So like my Cooper Kupp lineups at captain will probably have Stafford in those. My if I have any lineups with Christian Kirk at captain or maybe Zach Ertz at captain, like I probably would want to get Kyler in those. But both quarterbacks, very strong options, and normally that's always going to be the case. Now, once you get past the quarterbacks, you have James Conner at 9,400, so we're going to have to wait and see if James Conner is actually active for this game. I'm assuming that James Conner is going to play. He's been banged up as of late. It's a playoff game. Usually these guys, if they're even somewhat banged up, I mean, they're going to try and do their best to be out there for a playoff game. I mean, your season's over if you lose, so I do expect Conner to be out there. Now, what kind of workload can we get from Conner, or can we expect from Conner? I don't really know. Obviously, he kind of crushed whenever Chase Edmonds was out. For these last few weeks, like Conner has been a workhorse back, been getting great usage without Chase Edmonds. Well, now Chase Edmonds is back and healthy, so does James Conner come out here and just have a massive workload, get like 20 touches? I don't think so. I think Conner's probably someone I'd be avoiding for the most part. I think he's just more of a contrarian option. For one, there's some potential risk that he's maybe not fully healthy. Also, you have to factor in that Chase Edmonds is back, and we know Chase Edmonds is a really good backup. Chase Edmonds is a guy that's going to be involved a good amount, so we could see like a 50-50 split in touches between Conner and Edmonds. Maybe Conner has the upper hand. Maybe it's like 60-40. But at 9,400, it's tough to really prioritize James Conner on this slate, in my opinion. Don't think I'd be spending up for him that often. I think he's just like a dart throw. I expect him to be low owned in tournaments. If you want to go there, sure, but I don't have much confidence in Conner at his price point. I think Sony Michel 7,800 is pretty solid. Now, Sony Michel last week still got good volume, 22 touches. The efficiency wasn't really there. Only put up 5.9 DK points, just 43 rushing yards on 21 touches, but he was still heavily involved. He played 80% of the snaps last week. Cam Akers played the other 20%. Now, with Cam Akers getting a week, to get ready for this game, does Cam Akers play more than 20% of the snaps this week? Probably. But I still think Sony Michel is kind of the RB1 in this offense. I don't think Cam Akers is just going to come out here and get like 15 touches. I think Cam Akers is still going to be eased in. He'll probably play more snaps than he did last week, but I think for the most part, Michel is the RB1 in this Rams offense right now. At 7,800, I think he's a pretty solid mid-range play if you do want to go there. I do prefer the receivers, though, for cheaper. I really like Christian Kirk here at 7K. Now, Christian Kirk, kind of without DeAndre Hopkins, I thought would be like an alpha wide receiver 1. And he has had some big target games lately, but the ceiling from Christian Kirk, we haven't really seen a massive ceiling game from him. He did put up over 100 yards, or close to 100 yards, I should say, against Detroit. Had 24 DK points that week, but some of these weeks have been mediocre for Christian Kirk. 7 catches, 48 yards, 6 catches, 79 yards, 2 catches, 43 yards. He's only scored a touchdown, 1 touchdown. The touchdowns for Christian Kirk have not been that great. He's definitely, I guess you could say he's run bad, and that's in those, in touchdowns, because, he's gotten like 18, 30. He's gotten almost 40 targets over his last 5 games, and he has just 1 touchdown over his last 5 games. So you got to think some positive touchdown regression is coming for Christian Kirk. I think most weeks him or Zach Ertz is probably going to lead this Cardinals team in targets. Zach Ertz has been a target monster as of late. He's been getting a ton of volume. I think Christian Kirk does offer upside, though. I think the volume will be there. He's their wide receiver 1 right now with DeAndre Hopkins out. So I do like Christian Kirk quite a bit at 7K. I think he's a very strong option in the mid-range. I think Odell Beckham always offers some upside, too. Now, Odell Beckham might have a lower floor than Kirk, might not get as much volume as Christian Kirk will, but the ceiling is still there. We know Odell is always a threat to break off a long touchdown catch. I know 1 week against the Packers, that 54-yard touchdown catch. He's had some big plays, 40-yard catch against Arizona when they played back in Week 14. Odell is going to be on the field for a large majority of the snaps. I know for the most part, when it comes to the Rams receivers, it's just going to be Cooper Kupp, Odell, and Van Jefferson, the guys that get all the playing time, get most of the targets as well. So I think Odell at 6,800 is a tournament option. I do prefer Kirk straight up, but Odell's definitely fine. Cam Akers probably not going to go there. Last week only saw 5 carries, 3 catches. Played 20% of the snaps last week. It was his first game first game this season after he injured his Achilles. He wasn't even expected to play this season, but I guess he recovered quickly, so they were able to get him out there. In a playoff game, does Cam Akers play more than he did last week? Probably. I think they're gonna want to try and get him out there as much as possible if he's healthy. But I don't think he's going to play enough or see enough volume to be worth the 6,600 price point. I think Sony Michel is still the RB1 in this offense. So not much interest in Cam Akers. I think he's kind of similar to James Conner, just overpriced for the volume that he's going to get and the few amount of touches that he should get. I just don't see myself really going there. But Zach Ertz, we kind of talked about him as being a target monster, and really ever since DeAndre Hopkins got put on IR and is out for the season, it's just been the Zach Ertz show. I mean, he's got double-digit targets in 3 out of his last 4 games, at least 9 targets in 4 straight games. I mean, it's hard not to consider Zach Ertz a very strong play here just with the amount of volume he's getting. I still think Zach Ertz, in terms of upside, like he's probably going to have to score a touchdown to really put up a great game just because he doesn't offer that big play upside. It's really unlikely for Zach Ertz to break off a 50-yard or 60-yard touchdown, whereas I think a guy like Christian Kirk has that kind of upside. Odell Beckham, Van Jefferson, like those guys can go out there and catch bombs, can get you long touchdowns. But, man, the volume's going to be there for Zach Ertz. He feels like a very safe option. I think he's probably someone you'd be considering in cash games for tournaments. I still think the ceiling is there just because he's going to get so many targets. He's been an every down receiver. He's basically playing like every single stat right now. I think Zach Ertz is a very solid option at 6,200 for sure. I do like him quite a bit. And then getting below 6K, starting to look for some value. Now, value on this slate, it's a little tricky. There's not a ton that really stands out. I think some of these pass catchers down here are the guys we're kind of going to be looking to for value. AJ Green at 5,800. He's another guy that's just going to be out there a ton. I mean, him and Christian Kirk are basically every down receivers right now. AJ Green, the last 3 weeks has played at least 80% of the snaps in 3 straight games. You look at the targets: 3 targets, 6, 9 targets. I think the floor on AJ Green's a little bit lower than maybe some of these other guys we've talked about, but definitely think AJ Green is playable because he's going to be on the field for 80, 90% of the snaps, and he's 5,800. So I do have some interest in him. Tyler Higbee, another guy that's just going to be on the field for almost every single snap. He's basically been an every down tight end as of late. And ever since the Robert Woods injury, we've seen Higbee kind of take on a heavier role, see a little bit more volume. Last few weeks, 9 targets, 8 targets. He's a guy they always kind of target in the red zone. I know he does have a lot of red zone targets this year. At 5,400, like I think Tyler Higbee's one of the better value plays on the slate. I feel a little bit better about him than I do AJ Green. But obviously AJ Green's someone you could go to as well. Van Jefferson, another guy that offers some big play upside, might have a little bit of a lower floor, but kind of similar to Odell Beckham, can break off a long touchdown catch at any moment. The targets for Van Jefferson might not be as consistent, as high as someone like Tyler Higbee. That's kind of why I think Higbee's a little bit of a safer play. But Van Jefferson offers that big play upside. At 5,200, he's another guy you could definitely sprinkle into tournament lineups. I think he's firmly in play on this slate. He's someone I do have some interest in for value. And then you got Chase Edmonds at 5K. So, the James Conner injury obviously is really important. Chase Edmonds off the injury report. I'm expecting James Conner to play, as I said earlier. But by some chance, James Conner is not able to play for this wildcard game. I mean, Chase Edmonds at 5K is going to be probably the best value play on the slate. We saw these 2 weeks whenever James Conner was out. I mean, Edmonds got 24 and 23 touches against the Colts and Cowboys, 26, 13 Draftkings points. We know Edmonds is someone that they're going to use a lot in the passing game. The carries he'll get here, that's going to depend on, the status of Conner. I think if Conner is active and is playing and is healthy, we're not going to see 16, 18 carries for Chase Edmonds just because they're going to, hand the ball off to James Conner a lot. But the pass game usage has kind of always been there all season. Even when Conner's been healthy, we've seen a lot of games where Chase Edmonds gets 4, 5, 6 targets. Obviously on DraftKings, with the scoring being full PPR, you want guys that can catch 4, 5, 6 balls if possible. Chase Edmonds can do that. He'll probably see 4 or 5 targets. He'll probably get 5, 6, 7 carries. His workload would obviously be massive if Conner were to sit. For now, I'm expecting Conner to play. But I think Chase Edmonds at 5K, even if Conner is active, he is still someone worth going to because, right now we don't really know if Conner's going to be fully healthy. That's going to be something we kind of have to pay attention to. If he is indeed active, maybe there'll be a report on what kind of workload we can expect for Conner, if he's going to be on a pitch count, whatever it may be. That's definitely going to impact my interest in Chase Edmonds. But even if Conner's active, I think Edmonds is still someone we can look to at 5K as a cheaper value option. Then you got a guy like Rondale Moore, who's kind of been disappointing this year. He's shown some flashes of upside. Had an 11 target game against Seattle. Had a really big game early this year. Back in week 2 against Minnesota, broke off a long touchdown catch that week. He's always a speed receiver, always a guy that has big play upside, but the floor on Rondale Moore is just so low. Like he could come out here and get like 2 targets, 3 targets. Even with DeAndre Hopkins out, like they haven't really involved Rondale Moore that much. He's still just not been getting the volume. It seems like Anton Wesley is a guy they're using a lot more now, and he's only $1,800. We'll talk about him in a second. I think Rondale Moore is literally a boom-bust play. I mean, he's the definition of boom-bust. He's either going to have a big game and catch a long touchdown, or he's going to probably score like 5 DraftKings points. Tournament option, obviously you could go there in GPPs. I'd assume he's going to be pretty low-owned on the slate, but I don't feel great about Rondale Moore. I think he's just a riskier option. Does offer some upside. but I don't feel great about him. There's definitely guys in that price range I'd rather go to. A.J. Green, Higbee, Van Jefferson, all those guys, even Edmonds, I'd be playing over Rondale Moore. Then you got the kickers and defenses. I think the kickers on this slate are totally fine to go to. Kickers usually give you a 6, 7, 8 point floor. Rarely are kickers going to go out there and put up like 20 DraftKings points, but kickers always provide you some solid value. On this slate, I think value is a little tough to find, so kickers are totally fine. Defenses, I think, are okay too. I tend to fade the defenses on showdown slates because, for the most part, defenses tend to be over-owned, and for a defense to put up a game that like you have to win, they're going to have to get like a pick six or a fumble, scoop and score, which those are things that can always happen. It's just hard to predict when they do. I think both defenses are fine here. The Rams defense at home probably is the preferred play of mine. Straight up, I probably would take the kickers over the defenses, though. Still think the defenses are okay values. Then after you get past the defenses, the one guy I do like down here is Anton Wesley. So Wesley's only $1,800. He's been involved as of late. He was really not involved at all this season until like the last few weeks, ever since really the DeAndre Hopkins injury. I did want to pull up Wesley's snaps. He's basically kind of been like their slot receiver. They're going to have Kirk and A.J. Green on the outside. Then they're going to use Wesley in the slot. And then they'll kind of, involve Rondale Moore on some gadget plays. Maybe on 4 wide receiver sets, you'll see Rondale Moore out there. Wesley, though, his snaps these last few weeks have actually been good. Since week 15, 85, 77, 57, and 75% of the snaps for Wesley. So he's played on at least 70% of the snaps in 3 of their last 4 games. The targets, they've been solid. 8 targets, 4, 5, 4 targets. He's gotten at least 4 targets in 4 straight games. He's really, really cheap. Probably going to get 3, 4, 5 targets. This is someone that I think we can definitely look to as a punt value. Right now, again, we just don't have any punt value on this slate. There's no guys down here that project great. So I think Anton Wesley, $1,800, does look like a pretty decent value play. Don't think I'd be going to Eno Benjamin, though. I think the only way I consider like Eno Benjamin is if Connor is inactive. And for right now, I'm expecting Connor to play. Ben Skronek's just, I think his snaps really haven't been that good as of late. I know like the first week that Robert Woods got injured, like Ben Skronek did play a lot that week, but ever since then, he's just, he's going to be on the field for like 20% of the snaps, maybe gets 2 targets, just a touchdown or bust play, and I think we can say that about basically everyone else. If you're looking for a punt play, if you're looking for a guy down here that has at least a little upside and a little bit of safety, I think that's probably Anton Wesley at $1,800. He's probably your best punt option on this slate. But right now, just looking at value, it's pretty gross down here. I think for value, you're going to be looking at guys like Tyler Higbee, A.J. Green, Van Jefferson, Chase Edmonds, the kickers. That's where I think your value's coming on this slate. But yeah, guys, that's it for this showdown slate. I think we broke down the entire player pool, kind of talked about all the guys I do have interest in. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. As always, I appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed, please click that like button down below. I always appreciate the likes, guys. Hit the subscribe button as well if you have not yet. Go check out the sponsor of the video, PrizePicks. Go sign up for PrizePicks. Use code NOAH when you do, and PrizePicks will give you a 100% match on your first deposit. They'll basically double your first deposit when you sign up with my code. You can take a look at what PrizePicks has to offer. You can make some picks for Monday night's football game. You can take a look at their NBA board. They have there's a bunch of NBA games going on during the day Monday. You can take a look at their NBA board, make some picks for NBA. Check out all the other sports they offer. You can mix and match sports on PrizePicks. You can win up to 10 extra money. If you want to sign up over there, use code NOAH. Get that deposit bonus whenever you do sign up. But that's it for this showdown slate, guys. That's it for this Monday night game. Hope you guys enjoy the game. Hope you guys win some money on this showdown slate, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.